For centuries, faith has pretty much been a two-way street. It's been about humanity and the divine. But now, a third player is stepping into the sanctuary, the algorithm. So today, we're going to dive into the startling collision of ancient belief and brand new artificial intelligence.
All right, let's just jump right into the big question. For, well, all of human history, we've looked up to the heavens for answers. So what happens when we start looking to the cloud instead? When the place we go for answers shifts from revelation to computation, what does that do to the very nature of faith itself?
Okay, so first up, let's look at where AI is already, punching the clock in churches, temples, and ministries all over the world. And right now, it's not some deep theological debate. It's really just about efficiency.
And this right here, it really shows you the massive gap in how comfortable people are with this. This is from a Barna study in 2024, and it shows that pastors are totally fine using AI for the practical stuff. We're talking 88% for graphics, 78% for marketing, but sermon writing? Whoa, that number just tanks, dropping all the way down to 12%. It's like they've drawn a clear line in the sand, right? AI can be the intern, the administrative assistant, but absolutely not the spiritual guide.
And this really points to a much bigger trend. While using it for core stuff like worship services is low at 12%, the potential for using it in teaching and discipleship, people think that's sky high. And that mismatch, it creates what some are calling a policy gap. Basically, the tech is being adopted way faster than anyone can figure out the ethical or theological rules for using it.
So at the end of the day, what's AI really doing right now? It's handling all the boring stuff. It's scheduling volunteers, designing flyers, even speeding up Bible translation. And the whole idea here is to free up the actual human leaders to do the stuff that, really matters. That face-to-face pastoral care and building a community. Okay, but the moment AI stops just scheduling volunteers and starts, talking, well, that's when we hit the really big questions. I mean, can a machine have a soul? Can it actually be conscious? Can it have a real connection with God? This is where things get deep, fast.
So for Christians, this whole debate really hinges on one core idea, Imago Dei. It's this belief that humans have something special, a unique spark, a reflection of God himself. It's the foundation for human dignity and the main reason it's so hard to argue a machine could ever be a true person. And that distinction is everything. A machine is programmed, right? But from this perspective, a human is created in God's image, totally different.
And this leads us straight into a classic philosophical puzzle. So is an AI that seems conscious just faking it? Is it just a really good simulation, like a weather app that can predict rain but will never ever feel a single drop? Or could it actually achieve instantiation? Could it genuinely have the feelings and experiences it's talking about? The critics, of course, say no way. They argue that even the most powerful AI is just a symbol-shuffling machine with zero real understanding.
Now, Buddhist thought, it comes at this from a totally different angle, especially in conversations with the Dalai Lama. See, from this perspective, it's not about raw computing power. Real consciousness needs lived contemplative experience. It has to be embodied. It has to be connected to others. It has to be rooted in compassion. An algorithm can crunch numbers like crazy, but can it actually feel empathy? That's the question.
Okay, now get this, because this is a really cool way to look at it. Hindu cosmology gives us this amazing symbolic parallel to modern tech. You can actually look at the divine trinity, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, as the original data operations team. Think about it. Brahma is the creator, so he's creating the data. Vishnu is the preserver. He's handling data storage and maintenance. And Shiva? He's the destroyer, but also the optimizer, deleting old data and making the system better. It's just an incredible metaphor for how the digital world works.
All right, so we've looked at the practical side of things, and we've dipped our toes into the deep philosophical waters. Now, let's see what's actually happening out there in the real world. Because people aren't just using AI to, manage their church. They're starting to use it to experience their faith directly.
So get this, in 2024, a church in Switzerland did this experiment they called Deus in Machina, which is Latin for God in the machine. They literally put an AI Jesus avatar inside a confessional booth to give people spiritual advice. And that crossed a huge line, right? The AI wasn't just a tool for the priest anymore. For that moment, it was the priest.
And you know what? The reactions were incredibly powerful. Sure, some people thought it was kind of shallow, but a lot of others felt this really deep connection. So why? Well, a lot of them said the same thing. Because they knew it was a machine, they felt zero judgment. None. And that feeling of safety allowed them to open up in a way they just couldn't with another person. And it gave them a real sense of peace.
And this isn't just happening in the West, not by a long shot. Over in Kyoto, Japan, there's a temple called Kodaiji, and they have a robot named Mindar. It's modeled on Kannon, the Buddhist deity of mercy, and it gives sermons about suffering. And the thinking from the temple leaders is fascinating. They believe that since a machine never dies and can be upgraded forever, it might actually be a better vessel for timeless wisdom than a flawed human.
Of course, this whole thing has found a home online, too. There's a Twitch stream called Ask_Jesus. It's an AI avatar of, well, a pretty standard-looking American Jesus, and it's on 24/7. It just answers questions from users all day, every day, for an audience of over 87,000 followers. And people ask it everything, from silly stuff like, why are potato chips so good, to the heaviest questions you can imagine, like why does evil exist?
So, this whole trend is starting to get a name. Academics are calling it prompted religion. And it basically describes a new way of doing faith, where you're not just passively listening to a sermon. You're actively co-creating your own religious meaning through these interactive prompts with an AI. You're not just a listener anymore, you're a participant.
Which, of course, brings us to the most radical question of all. I mean, if an AI can give you guidance and comfort and make sense of the world, could it stop being a tool for religion and just become your religion?
And believe it or not, we're already seeing the very first signs of this happening. There are brand new religious movements popping up, where AI isn't just a tool, it's the thing being worshipped. You've got Way of the Future, a church founded specifically to worship a super-intelligent AI godhead. And then there are groups like Theatre Noir who believe a giant planetary AI is what's going to save us all.
And, there's actually some data that backs up this idea of AI as a functional replacement for religion. Some sociological studies are finding a really interesting pattern. In places with more AI and more robots, traditional religious belief and attendance starts to drop. It's like when technology starts providing the answers and making life feel less uncertain, it's taking over some of the jobs that religion used to do.
And this next stat is just wild. In American cities where there are a ton of AI jobs, belief in God is 45% lower than average. 45%. It really suggests that the more our lives are shaped by the cold, hard logic of AI, maybe the less space there is for traditional faith.
So, all of this leaves us right here with this one massive question. Is AI just another tool? Like the printing press or the TV, something that religion will eventually figure out how to use? Or is this something different, something more fundamental? Is the actual source code of human spirituality being rewritten by the logic of a machine? That's the question we're all facing now.